everybody, this is Tony.
And this is Paul. We're coming at you from the Friends for Life podcast, where we discuss the ongoing lives and issues of people with developmental disabilities to spark positive change in the field.
And we have a lot of fun doing it.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Friends for Life podcast. Thanks for tuning back in. And I have a question for you, Tony.
Oh, here we go again.
Why did you make me wear orange today?
Oh, man. Well, that's a good question. Because of Disability Awareness Month. I couldn't even say it, man. Look, I've been on this thing where I keep tripping over words today, and I am so irritated by it. But Disability Awareness Month, if you can hear that, those are Tic Tacs. They are not sponsoring this show, but if they want to, they are more than welcome to. But the last meeting I was on, I said, like, man, I have this orange theme going on already in my life, so let's make it just keep going. But disability awareness, and as we all know, awareness is great, but change is better. So we are wearing orange in light of disability awareness and for us to be aware to make changes. So do better.
Yeah, disability awareness is the name of our game 24/7. So
welcome.
Another month to raise awareness, but at Friends for Life here, we're doing awareness every week on the podcast. Speaking of awareness, something that has crossed my mind a little bit recently is in the business of what I do, media 24/7 coverage of, you know, talking and posting and being up to date on what's going on in the field. There's this little thing called burnout. And we have, DSPs get burnt out doing this job. Taking care of people is a huge responsibility. We've got managers getting burnt out. We've got CEOs getting burnt out, trying to fill every nook and cranny of shift that needs covered and trying to keep businesses afloat. So, Tony, do you have any tips for people, including yourself and myself, on how to maybe avoid or lessen the burnout? Because we all face it at some point. It's just a fact of life.
Ironically, get fired. No.
Yeah. Well, that's easy enough.
Yeah, right. At least for me, it used to be.
Also, orange awareness is over. I'm sweating to death in this jacket. Right. That's the only orange thing I own.
Oh, you did good. Scooty, my son loves orange, so he'll help you out with that. Right. But yeah, there's a few things that I do, man. I actually got, I go through like 5 different things that kind of center me back when I'm in that burnout stage. So one of the first things I do, I turn off the noise. Like, I look for either complete quietness or something that's the sounds of nature, sounds that will give me that natural heartbeat to life. You know, shout outs to Mike Hayes. I mean, this is, again, things that you should listen to when elders, in a sense, say things to you. And he's about to be celebrating his 70th birthday, so we're going to give him a round of applause for that. That man is and looking good doing it. He completely changed the way he does. If no one heard his episode, he gives you tips and tricks on life hacks, for one, just to be better at living. But next, he gives a very good rendition of how he incorporates what he does with music, and I think it's just it was a phenomenal discovery for people who are not, familiar with that. But if you could turn off the noise, and this alludes to something that you were telling me too about a book that you were reading, and if you want to elaborate for the people to hear, because I haven't read this particular book, but I do agree with this concept.
Yeah, the book that I'm reading right now is called, if I mess this up, I'll post the corrected version in the edited podcast, but it's Stillness Is the Key, I believe it's called, by Ryan Holiday. He writes the Daily Stoic, and he has written a couple other books, The Obstacle Is the Way, which I know you're reading right now, Tony. And then there is Courage is Calling, I believe is another book of his. But he was talking about how, like, Winston Churchill, and what I read today is Winston Churchill is, famous for what I believe was a World War II. He's, during all of that, I'm going to get made fun of because I should know that. But he's basically a great...
that is more along the line of your expertise.
Yeah. But it's basically how a man can be so productive. And he was basically saying that he avoided burnout by sticking to a schedule, sticking to his daily schedule, whether it was in the middle of the chaotic hell of World War II or whatever, was happening at the time.
Right.
Said he woke up every day. He ate the same thing. He did the same routine. He ate, took a bath, and then he wrote nonstop for like 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever that time was. He'd have lunch, and then he'd go back right to what he was doing, and he'd go to bed like at the same time every single day. So that's one way to avoid burnout, in which, in a ever-changing world that we live in now, that's not always feasible. But I mean, he was living through some of the most chaotic times in history, and he was able to make that sacrifice mentally to stay consistent and avoid burning out in some of the most stressful times ever. So yeah, I mean, that's just one way, and kind of what you said is taking time every day to just kind of step back and turn off. And a lot of the stuff that I've picked up from these books is like a lot of famous people in history, some of the greatest thinkers of our time, have spent an hour, 2 hours a day just walking, going out the front door and walking and letting it kind of gets their brain turning and cleared up. And whether it's in the middle of the city or at a park or whatever, that's a good way to kind of clear some of the mental stress. And it's been proven. They talk about that whole thing in, I think it's Japanese culture. I think they call it Shinrin Roku or something like that, but it's basically going outside and like being in the forest.
Being one.
And they talk about how that actually like has huge like antidepressant effects on the body, even if you can only do it once or twice a week or something. Just going outside and being in nature for an hour, half hour,
especially
whatever. Right
now in the Midwest with the weather breaking. I think that this has some of the best euphoria that a brain can take.
Absolutely. So yeah, that's basically the synopsis of. Now that I've made myself apparently clear that I don't know anything about history on camera, Tony, what's your next piece of advice?
My next one actually kind of goes with that. Start something new. Like sometimes you got to break it up. I know that there is a lot of times I am super dialed in and focused on something, and I might enjoy the route that I'm heading to it, and I'm excited. So it's hard for me sometimes to see other standpoints. And again, burnout happens in different ways for different people. When you're in a position that I'm in, I have to think about a lot of stuff a lot of times. So when sometimes I will put something down that I've been thinking about too long and start something new. And while I'm working on that new project, I'll get the answer in a sense to the old project, or it just always seems to work that way. Sometimes you got to have your brain just take a little mental step down. From a DSP standpoint, I would definitely say if you have an individual that you're working with, that it can be very tiresome, let's say repeating yourself or staying consistent on certain tasks. Maybe if you have the staffing, which not always it can be the case, maybe just switching off on a staff scenario can help. So if you're working with Paul here, Paul, you're mad at Tony for whatever reason, but we have Crystal and Courtney here. Well, you've been working with Crystal all week. How about Courtney come work with you for a little while and Crystal come work with me, and just, try a little something new, break the dynamic. So I think that sometimes helps. Yeah, and definitely changing up the scenery every once in a while is a good way to kind of clear your head. I mean, I know it's no secret. A lot of the episodes we do are usually down to the wire, like for editing purposes. So say you guys watch or listen to an episode on Saturday when it comes out, or Monday, whatever. So we usually record them Thursday or Friday. So my window to get them out is pretty quick turnaround. Yeah. And they can be up to an hour and a half, which in edit time turns into multiple hours. Right. So, that that's what I get paid to do. That's what you pay me to do. I enjoy this type of work, so it's not a hassle. But even then, the repetitiveness and that crunch time eventually wears down on you. And it's the same with you as a CEO. You've built this up. And if I could, I want to interrupt. Man, dude, this goes back to the simple physics of being a damn parent. Yeah. Like, parents get burnt out all the time. And unfortunately, you know, I think some people are going to hate me for this, but society has made it okay that other people raise your kids all the time, you know, and I don't think that is appropriate when you made the decision to have these children.
I agree. I see that all the time.
Yeah, it irritates me. And for the longest, now granted, there are I can't speak for every scenario, but there are some
What are you saying?
There are some situations in which, you know, somebody has been given a shitty experience per se. I don't know the best, like, if someone lost a spouse, if, you know, a chronic illness came up, like those are scenarios that can really dictate your child care situations along with medical issues. But when mom and dad are both there and you just want to have your kid watched by somebody else so you can go party every other week because you need your you time, yeah, we have to have conversations about better life choice decisions, you know. But again,
the point I was trying to make is that, like, as a CEO, you work a lot, but you built this business, you created this, and, you know, specifically in the DD field, because that's what you're passionate about, which, if anybody hasn't known Tony's history, I mean, you grew up with an uncle who was disabled, and so this has been your whole life and caring for these people. But even then, when it's something you're passionate about, you're passionate about business, running Friends for Life. I'm passionate about video and audio and all of these kind of things. You can still burn out if you're passionate about caretaking, and it doesn't help or hurt every once in a while to take a day or two away. Like a few weeks ago, I left everything at home and I went up and I just went fishing for a weekend. Like, I just cleared my head. No phone. I didn't even answer my phone the whole weekend. Like, it was off. And then I came back and I'm ready to go. And I mean, I know that's not always the option, but that's the first time I've done that in 6-8 months, you know?
Yeah.
Eventually you need to take a mental break. And it's hard for people nowadays, since we're so tuned into everything, to turn off their phone for a day seems like torture. I've tried to do that all the time on the weekends, especially, is like, I have my phone on, but I don't check it. Like, I will not check social media. I don't post anything on social media. It's just...
And real quick, and this is not to make anyone feel less about the way that they make a living or their profession, but there are certain levels of things, and healthcare is one of those things that it kind of doesn't matter if we're burnt out or not.
Yeah.
The person still needs care.
Yes.
You know, no matter what we're saying, at the end of the day, we still have to figure out how this person gets care. And if
that's the stressful part.
Yeah, that's the even harder part. I'm burnt out with that by now.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's any time that you have away from, quote unquote, away from work, there are, like, what I'm trying to get at is there are things you can do to like lower your stress about levels. That kind of stuff. And it's not an easy solution. It's not always as easy as just taking a walk. If you have a really stressful day at work, a walk isn't going to fix everything all the time. Yeah. I mean, there's proven tenets of things you can do: exercising, eating healthy. Are most people going to do that?
You know what? Even
probably not.
Crying has been shown to be a release that people can do. Just don't do it too much, but it can definitely be done. I've had a good cry, man, and it just feels like, oh, it's all out. You know?
Okay, fair enough. But what's your? You have any more advice here?
Yes.
Because I mean, there's not just a one and done kind of thing.
Oh no, not at all. Make yourself laugh. I think that is very important. You know, if you're into watching movies, if you can make a joke about something, I'm a huge movie fan, so as Paul rolls his eyes, I'll watch something funny in a minute, and then.
What's your favorite funny movie?
Dude, you got to put me on blast. Like, if I had to choose one right now, Don't Be a Menace in South Central or Drinking Your Juice in the Hood. That has to be one of my like classic all time favorites. I can watch it every single week and love it.
Now ask me.
What's your favorite movie? I just watched Scream the other day too. Listen.
And you gotta ask me what's my favorite comedy.
What's
movie.
your favorite comedy movie?
Dumb and Dumber.
Oh, that's a good one to like too.
See, I knew the answer immediately.
Yeah, and
because I've only seen 5 comedies in my life.
Are you kidding me?
No, I don't know.
I'm about to say, dude, like you need some help. I'm just gonna like that should be your away day. Is me taping you down to watch movies or
I would fall
something.
asleep. Yeah, that is. I mean, humor is an important part of life. I mean, even if it's hanging out with that funny friend who's weird.
Yeah, sometimes they'll brighten your spirits,
or make you upset.
Yep, either or.
Because they'll make fun of you.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully you got a strong chin. Another one I was thinking about though, and this is it took a lot for me to be here. Ask for help or delegate. There's so many times I looked at my damn schedule and I was like, wow, I have to do all this. But then I'm like, okay, well, such and such knows this and this person knows this. And, you know, it'll open up if you have the eyes to it, but definitely ask for help. Asking
for help is definitely important. I ask for help all the time with things I don't know how to do, whether that means looking it up on the internet and watching the most boring YouTube tutorials of all time, which I have. I'm just going to say this has nothing to do with anything we're talking about on the podcast. I hope I don't do this. I probably do. But YouTube video tutorials, they always have the longest intros. And I'm like, I literally just want to know how to do this one simple task. I don't want to hear your life story and then like 30 seconds, like, oh, click this button and it'll fix your problem. It's like, but anyway.
Yeah.
YouTube tutorials frustrate me. But yeah, learning or getting help from people is very important. And then like, we can't all delegate, like especially the further down the ladder you are, you can't just delegate to someone else because then you're just like a crappy employee, basically. Like he just keeps pushing all this stuff off on me. But yeah, especially when you get up into higher positions, like the amount of stuff that you probably have to deal with on the daily basis just grows. Yeah. So if you are in like those higher positions, you do need a delegator. You'll never get anything done.
And it's just a learning curve and a learning process. Especially when you're in an executive role, you're used to doing everything by yourself because that's how you got there. Like you weren't getting this position, or you didn't get this position because you were lazy. You know, 9 times out of 10, I've never seen anybody get a position worth of any true merit, and it's because they did a horrible job. You know, so it's definitely something that everyone needs to take account for in their growth.
Well, you can delegate in different ways than just having other people help you or do things for you. I mean, I find that when it comes down to a deadline of getting whatever done I need to get done, sometimes you just have to not respond to something immediately. Yes. Even though people are like beating down your door, you have to like say, hey, this is my priority right now. This is what needs to get done. And you are maybe going to get upset, but I found that like people are much more willing to accept that because everybody can usually relate to that. Like, hey, I will get what you're asking me to get done, but it may not be on the exact timeline you want, but it will get done. But like right now, this thing has to be due like tomorrow. And nothing is happening today. Like, I'm sorry. It just has to be like this. Like, that's a way to delegate your time effectively. Like, look at what is on your plate and touch on the things that really need attention now. Yes. Like getting the podcast out or, you know, getting these videos chopped up to put out on social media. Those things come first. And then when I have time, I will make this promotional thing that doesn't need to come out right now. Or like, I do that to you all the time. Yeah, I will get this done. It's not going to be today, but I will get it done. And you add it to a list and, you know, knock off the little tiny things as you have time to do them, but always push the important things first and worry about the rest after. So,
And this jumps from a quick segment that I actually wrote it on a orange sticky. But listen, people, if you're not on Facebook, I'm showing something right now. Facebook. If you're not on YouTube watching us, I'm showing something right now that I want you to take a look at. But it basically is the triangle of business. There's 3 ways that things can be done, but you can only do 2 of them. And it's good, fast, and cheap. So if you make a triangle, put good, fast, and cheap there, you can pick 2 of those for your company, for your business, for things to grow. But it works like that in human life as well. You know, so even us as DSPs and things like that. But I mentioned that because sometimes we want to do things fast and good, but we also want it cheap, and that's not how it's going to be. You know, you can do things fast and cheap, but it's not always going to be, it's not going to be good. You know, you can do it good and cheap, but it's not going to be fast. And that literally transcends through every single work habit that most people have. So I just wanted to share that. But I also have my last one. And this is not, like, none of these were particularly ordered per se. But remember why you do what you do. There's been many a times that I stayed on working in this field because I realized the impact that I had on people's lives. It wasn't just about me. It wasn't just about that one individual. It was about a collective, a group. And I think a lot of people have heard this phrase before, loyal to a fault. I don't really think that that's a real thing until the person that you're loyal to is deliberately trying to affect you negatively. And, you know, everybody has to live their own life, so you have to feel those kind of things out. I can't be a psychologist or anything when it comes to that. But most of the time, we know if somebody's doing good by us, bad by us, or even going neutral by us. And I think that that's a good way for us to look at the people that we serve, is if we continue to do good by them, we add so much more value.
Well, yeah, and that's, I mean, you're always going to get, contrary to what popular belief is about, you have to be this like hard-nosed, all-know businessman being mean to everybody. Like, you're going to get so much further just being nice to people than trying to always squeeze every last cent out of everything. I mean, that's just like such a common fallacy people live by, is like, the only way I can get ahead is to be shrewd. Like, no, I don't think that that's true at all, because I know the people I deal with on a regular basis, like between your podcast, my podcast, video, all this stuff, working with clients who are rude and always want more and more and more after you clearly state, like, I don't want to work with them again. I would just say no next time they ask. Even if they're willing to pay more, I'm like, I do not want to work with you. Like, you're just a pain in my butt. And like, that's like the people who are nice and easygoing and they're like, oh, well, here's my idea. I've laid this out for you. This is exactly what I'm looking for. They make your life easy. I like to work with people like that because it's less stress on me than just guessing what they want. And that's as a way to be a better worker, is to clearly communicate, like, you want to, like, hey, I'm uncomfortable with this. Yeah. Like, if your management can't understand that, then like maybe it's not the right place for you. You know what it is? It's like being openly communicating with everyone you're working is going to help avoid burnout too, because you're on the same page with your employer. Like, hey, I don't know what I'm doing with this. I either need more help, which back to our last point, or like, it's not for me. I don't know. But as long as you're open with your employer, like, not just complaining, but being open in a sense, like realistic. Like, how often do I tell you stuff like, hey, because Tony shoots 100,000 ideas at me a day. Like, it's just nonstop flow. And how often do I say, like, I don't know if this is great. We can try it, but like, I don't really feel like this is the right direction. Like, you have to be open with that.
You got to throw the spaghetti, see what stick, baby.
And if Tony says, hey, yeah, I still want to try it, then we're going to try it. But he could also be like, yeah, maybe I was just talking and I had no idea. Like, this might not be the greatest idea. It's like some things are just time sinks, and it's okay every once in a while to go to management and be like, hey, you could be right, I could be wrong, but I feel like this might not be the best way to do it.
It's so sweet because we didn't plan this, but I'm actually going through actually, I can't even say that it's negotiations anymore because there's only one term that I can't particularly do for this person right now, and it's due to some other things already in place and moving. But I had someone come up to me with a very understandable role that they wanted to play and what they wanted to do, how they wanted to do it, and it was very good negotiating tactics. And I agreed on basically on spot in person. Once we met about it, and the value of this person well outseeds the potential for them to stay stagnant. And so I definitely understood, why they came to me with the proposal. And, you're happy to see somebody progress, no matter what the scenario.
A lot of employees have a fear of the employer, and I mean, that could either be like for multiple reasons. Either the employer scares the crap out of them, or they just have a fear of being told no. Mm-hmm. And I grew up being told the worst thing somebody can do is just say no. So like if you ask, they can say no, but like that's all that's going to happen. It might be awkward for 2 seconds, but the employer's going to forget immediately because they have way too much crap going on. Like, how often do people say whack stuff to you every day?
Oh, dude.
And you're just like, we can't do this right now. And it's not like you're trying to be malicious. It's like, no, it's just not going to happen right now. Like, and a lot of people, back to everything we always say, it's like an ego thing. Like, worst thing somebody can say is no, and then it's over, and you just move on. And that doesn't mean you can't ask again later.
Or they can be just give and take. I mean, that's what it is. I had a scenario. I went to a former employer, and I asked for a raise on a Friday. It felt like it was the perfect time to do it. I mean, I scheduled it out. I had everything, like the growth pattern, that I did, all of the letters of, great work from the SSAs and state departments and all of this. And I'm like, yeah, this feels right. And I think I only asked for maybe a 2.5% to 3% increase. And by Monday, I knew how much work I didn't do, evidently, because not only did I not get the raise, I had a whole list of things that I was just, I guess, horrible at. And so, that's how that went. I didn't see the raise at first. It took some work and for me to do some things, and I ended up seeing it at some point. I would say in another year or so. Which is a quick bonus tip. We might not see everything we want right away. It's everything is not so glittery and shiny. I'm done talking, man. Take over this thing. I can't talk.
Well, sounds like Tony's having a rough day talking here, so I think we're going to wrap it up. But, I would just think that it's a good advice to kind of take a step back. We all live in such a fast-paced world now. Everything is just go, 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 go. Sometimes we got to stop. Take 20 minutes, sit down, go outside, chill. I mean, I know it's easy to say from the guy who just like makes media all day and that's the appearance, but it's like, I get stressed out and Tony gets stressed out, and just saying what works for me. You guys that are working in this field day in and day out have a hell of a lot harder job than me. I'm an outside observer, so like, but I do understand being stressed out and needing to step back and just take a minute. Not everybody has the weekend off or 2 days in a row, but
And I'm feeling generous. I want to know what you guys do in order to, chill back and relax. So listeners, please let us know. Leave some comments, leave some suggestions for people. How do you chill back? How do you relax? How do you deal with your burnout? Mm-hmm. And if we go through the list and we find some good stuff, I want to give some prizes away.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Yeah, so we'll do that. Let us know what how do you chill back?
Yeah, absolutely. And you can reach out to us on YouTube. You can reach out to us on Facebook. You can reach out to us on Instagram. You can reach out to us on TikTok. And you can reach out to us on Twitter, but we don't really post on Twitter that much. I don't really understand Twitter very much. It's a very difficult place. Yeah, but
I can whistle.
But thanks again, everybody, for listening. I know the last 2 weeks we haven't had guests, but it's really hard to schedule people to come on the show. Like, I think a lot of people get nervous talking on camera, which I don't blame them. But
even with that, I mean, our time has really been crunched. It's a new year. We're trying to do new things.
We're working on big stuff too, not just little podcasts now and again. We're in discussion, which everybody says big things coming. That's always the thing. But we really are working on some behind the scenes things that hopefully will get people's heads turning a little bit. And on that note, I want to thank everybody for listening or watching, and we'll be back next week with another one.
Later.